First, you have to have patience. Small cats require patience. Nobody goes to Africa to see a black-footed cat. They go to see lions, leopards, and cheetahs. Nobody goes to Africa to see the African golden cat. How about a sand cat? They're nocturnal. You're not going to see them. Anyone that works on small cats either knows patience or will learn patience. I must say that our patience is nearly infinite when we're dealing with the cats. We'll do whatever it takes. But our patience in dealing with people is a little bit less. And our patience dealing with institutions, well, that could use improvement. Why is it tested? I don't know. The second P is persistence. You have to keep going back. When I was looking for that Andean cat in October of 1998, in the Andes that are so vast, from Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile, at 5,000 meters, looking for a cat whose numbers are around 2,000. It's not even like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's way more difficult than that. I was encouraged by the fact that my colleague Rod Jackson, who worked on snow leopards, took 9 months to find his first snow leopard. And I was prepared to wait forever until I found that Indian cat. My wife went up to visit me at 4,600 meters and got sick and had stomach problems and headaches that she went back down to lower elevation. And said, one young man that I had working with me couldn't get out of bed. He couldn't breathe. He said it felt like someone was sitting on his chest. Big strapping young guy from Vancouver, wanted to be a mountaineer. He couldn't get out of bed. And he told me that when he left, he said, "You're so crazy, you're going to die here." It was a funny thing that the very next day after he left, the negative vibes went with him and the cat showed up. And those pictures appeared in National Geographic in 2000. So you never know how things are going to work out. Persistence. Of course we have to have passion. And Rickshaw has the same passion for leopards. It's why he gets up in the morning. It's why he does what he does. Because he has a passion. We have passion for our small cats. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday or Tuesday. Every day is the same for us. We don't punch a clock. We get up and go out there and do it because we want to do it. And you have to have the oath of poverty, because there isn't any money going into small cats. There's a fifth P, and that fifth P just does not work for us. And I hope it doesn't work for you. We're not in this for posthumous. We want to see results during our lifetimes. And I think all of you do too. Many of you can't do what these young people are doing. But at least you could help them by supporting them. Well, how can I help? This is the part of the talk where it's how can I help? So now I'm going to tell you other things you can do. You can avoid products that are harmful to yourself and to the environment. This is the fun part. I love this part. Now I know that none of you eat this. And it just appears on grocery shelves and then somewhere disappears. But let's take a look at the ingredients. Let's see what you're eating. Well, nobody turns the little package around, and there are thousands like this. I assure you, I walk through Walmart and I can get thousands of pictures of such products. Let's take a closer look at that label that nobody ever reads. Oh, there it is. Public enemy number 1 in Southeast Asia. Palm oil. Thank you for causing the near extinction of orangutans. Reese's, whatever it is. palm oil is destroying the forests of Southeast Asia. It's now moved into the Amazon. The cancer is spreading. And I'll venture to say, you have it here in Sri Lanka. It's killing wildlife habitat. And it's unmitigated. That is, a hectare for a hectare? No. They'll roll right over national parks. That's the way palm oil works. It's very profitable. Indonesia and Malaysia are in a head-to-head competition to become the world's largest producers. They'll stop at nothing to control the markets. And there's big money behind those countries driving palm oil. It's a cancer, and I beg you to look at your labels and don't buy these products. Oh boy. Now I know none of you eat this, but let's just look at the label. I think after you look at the label, you're never going to eat it again. There's the label. The first ingredient is sugar. The next is palm oil. It consists of hazelnuts, 13%, and some milk thing that you don't know what it is, 8.7%. So if you add those two numbers up, and there's a 7.4% emulsifier. Oh, good. So that's 15, let's see, let's call it 16 and 13 is 29%. Hazelnuts, milk, something or other, and cocoa. And I bet if you put it in a centrifuge and spun it out, you wouldn't need it, because it would separate out into the first ingredient, which is sugar, and the next ingredient is palm oil. And there's hazelnuts. Why don't you just eat the hazelnuts dipped in chocolate or something? But my problem here is, it really shouldn't be considered human food. But other than that, it has palm oil, and that's why we should avoid it. And you can eat lower on the food chain. I'm going to say something about that. I'll continue to say something about it, but I guess being a vegetarian since 1971, it's easy for me to say. But you know, I became a vegetarian when I was working on my master's degree in mathematics because of the damage I saw that cows were doing to the environment. I just decided not to support the cattle industry. And I was a mathematician. I didn't even know what DNA was. I'd never taken a biology class in my life. But I could see the damage that livestock was doing to the environment. And I just said, I'm not going to eat this stuff anymore. And what do we do now where my colleagues that work on ocean fish, we're cleaning out the ocean of fish. How could this be? If someone gave you an assignment, your assignment is to clean out the ocean of fish, you'd say, well, it's impossible. It can't be done. Now we're throwing more ships at it to make it happen. So in the US, and I feel compelled to criticize, more than 60% of our crops grown are fed to livestock. More than half the food we grow is fed to cows and pigs and chickens. It's incredible. And all that meat and water and energy that's wasted on livestock is 12% of our food. That's it. That's all we get. Because when you go up the food chain, the return is less. If we just ate all those crops that we fed to these livestock, we'd have more than enough food. We would have a titanic surplus of food. Not to mention the fact that animal production in the U.S. is one of the most heavily subsidized industries in the whole country. They graze their cows on public land, my land, and they pay $1.35 a month. And when there's a jaguar or puma that walks across that land, they get all uptight and want it killed. And they lift their telephone and they call Wildlife Services, a government organization, and they say, I think maybe possibly one of my calves was killed by a puma, maybe. Wildlife Services, a government agency, will come out and kill a puma on public land. Don't tell me they're not subsidized. They're subsidized from day one. They pollute for free. They pollute the streams and rivers and our atmosphere and don't pay anything for it. It's all free. All a subsidy. And they want more. Many of you know the attempt by the ranchers to take over one of our national wildlife refuges and turn it back over to grazing and logging, when in fact the Native Americans gave that land to the government. And the ranchers wanted it back. It wasn't theirs to begin with. This is the kind of food I like to eat. I know it looks uncomfortable. This is with my colleagues in Cambodia, but I prefer to eat food that's cooked, right in front of me. Not something that's sitting in a big pot waiting for me to come and eat. This is the way we were meant to be. I've had my problems around the world just like you've had. I too, like all of you, have vehicle problems. This happened in China, looking for that Chinese mountain cat. My Chinese colleague drove our truck into this, like a puddle, a pond, out here in the middle of nowhere. You can see that there's dry land all over the place, but he wanted to push it through this pond. It took about, this is at 5,600 meters, and this is the second time he drove it in. And I asked him, why did you drive the truck into the water again? And he said, I thought I could make it this time. No. In Bolivia, people attribute supernatural powers to the cats, to all cats. All cats have supernatural powers. They're partly right, they do. I can tell you about one that the domestic cat has. And they kill the cats. And then they decorate them with wool and hang them up in their houses as icons with special powers. Moreover, if they see a cat and don't kill it, it's bad luck. So on my left there, on the left of the picture is an Andean cat, and on the right is a pampas cat, another small cat called a pampas cat. And if there were a puma around, they'd kill that too. What's the problem with the Andean cat? Okay, number one, the people kill it because it has iconic value, supernatural powers. It guarantees good harvests. They often put them in their house to make the house, make sure the house doesn't blow away in the wind. If they're adobe houses, they're not going to go anywhere. Moreover, as I found in 1998, the Indian cat shows no fear of people. It doesn't run away. That is, you can walk right up to it and hit it with a rock, which is what they do. They just walk up to it, doesn't run away, and they hit it with a rock, and they dry it out and decorate it as shown in my picture and hang it up for good luck. So that's the issue. Working with the local people to stop that kind of killing. And I had my problems with my truck in Guyana where my colleagues decided not to follow my lead and in fact drove along the side of the lake there, and then this truck slowly slid down and ended up on its roof, our Toyota truck, in the water in the middle of Guyana. And so we had to spend a few days there fishing for our pots and pans in the bottom of this pond, and our sleeping bags were wet, and I'm sure you know the story. And this happens everywhere. It's part of the job. It's part of what we do. And I always try to get a picture because for me, I know it's just going to be temporary. I know we're going to get out of it. There's no sense being mad because that just makes everybody mad. So you might as well get pictures and show everybody about how ridiculously funny it is. So I never get too concerned. I'm never angered over it. Although when it happens and you're in the truck upside down in the water, it's a concern. My last slide saying thank you.